Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. Today I'm at Logan's Trading Company in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a really nice garden center. They've actually got a restaurant and all kinds of things. It's near downtown Raleigh. I actually gave a talk here earlier in the fall, and this place is right next to a train station. This was at one time a train station in Raleigh that's been converted to this garden center a long time ago. So this place has been here as long as I have been. I worked at a competitor of this place back when I was a teenager in the northern part of Raleigh. But when I was giving my talk, a train pulled up right here behind me, and I had like 20, 25 people here for to listen to me speak, and I had to yell over a train the whole time. So that was kind of funny. That was earlier in the fall. This is a really, really nice place, and I've covered a couple mail order operations now, and I've covered a wholesale nursery that sells to the public. This is going to be more of a collection of, at a garden center like this, they have the opportunity to buy from all of those different types of vendors and put them in one space. So they're going to have a lot more depth to their inventory and have the opportunity to even, special order. They're going to know, they go to all the plant shows that happen in the winter, and they'll know, what suppliers have, what, and, who does things well, because every nursery's got their specialties and, the things they struggle to grow and the things they grow really, really well. And, this type of place is going to know that. So let's bounce around a little bit, and I'll show you some shade plant items that I haven't shown you in the other videos. They have these beautiful espaliered camellias here. Espaliered just means grown flat on a trellis. Camellias respond really, really well. I think those are in 15-gallon pots. But they've got a whole wall of these along the railroad tracks right here that are in bloom. They're really, really beautiful. These would grow really, really nicely up against a wall if you didn't have windows on a higher wall and you needed some height, but you had a super narrow space. But that's an espaliered Camellia sasanqua, a fall blooming camellia. Down here below that, there's these are gumpo azaleas right here. Gumpo is a dwarf azalea. They come in pink and white, really good shade, little low evergreen. Grows like a little holly, but then of course you get the added benefits of it blooming in the spring and that little tight, formal looking form that they have. And of course they have lots of azaleas here. I haven't shown any azaleas. There's encore azaleas a little further down, which here we are in December. Zone 7B, Raleigh, North Carolina. The encore azaleas are still blooming. Right now it's 31 degrees while I'm shooting this. I only have one fern video on the channel, and I shot it at Bracey Nursery in Louisiana earlier in the year. They had 4 or 5 varieties that I included in that one. Of course, if you come to a garden center like this, you're going to get a ton of varieties. Here's some beautiful autumn ferns right here on this table. Another whole table of different varieties of ferns here. These arborvitae ferns, which are super soft to the touch right here. Most of these are evergreen choices. This is a Christmas fern right there. There's a Japanese tassel fern. It's a really interesting one right there. And they're just so great for fall and winter interest in the garden. And one of my favorites here is holly fern. This one can get some damage on it over the course of the winter in my area, but I cut that damage out in the spring and it just keeps on rolling. Easy, super easy plants. Moving over here, of course, we got all the heuchera, and what a beautiful variety. This one right here is called sugar plum, really intense purple. Right there. There's Carex in the center of the table here that I keep showing in these shade planting videos. What a great way to add some color in a shady space. But really nice collection of heucheras on this table. And if I move over this way, this is so sunny out here today. Apologize for that. There's some Temple Bells Pieris right here. I've shown Pieris in several of these shade planting videos. Really great choice in the shade. Right here is a Podocarpus. Really nice one. It's almost 6 feet tall in a 25-gallon pot. I had shot a little bit of video at J.C. Ralston Arboretum on this one because these are fantastic in the shade, and they've got one under their shade canopy there. And the video just didn't look all that great. May not be any better here with the sun out today, but what a great plant this is right here in an upright, narrow form. Coming around Here we've got more Carex, different varieties. You know, you've got this, you know, there's one here that's yellow with a green stripe in the middle, or white with a green stripe in the middle. And then right there is a green one with a yellow stripe in the middle. There's just all different types of variegation on these. And coming around, I believe this is a David viburnum, which will work in the shade. I've shown you the Daphne odora in several videos, nothing more fragrant than that, and they do work very, very well in the shade. Here's a sweet box, which I've shown in several videos, which you can keep as a little low formal hedge, and it gets these fragrant flowers, which I've got my finger on there, that will open up in the late winter, that are super, super nice. Sometimes in a container. Sweet box is another one of these plants that I don't think looks very good as a container plant, and then when it's in the ground, it's quite full. They've got some oak leaf hydrangeas here that are still holding on to a few of the fall colored leaves, and then there's some beautiful Fatsia right there, Fatsia japonica, and then their camellia selection is quite big. These are camellia japonicas here, and the buds are coming on them now, but they'll be, there's one right there, that really nice flower bud right there, and it'll open up after the first of the year sometime. All of these are camellia japonicas, and then right here, the camellia sasanquas, and these are gonna be obviously the fall blooming ones. All these are hardy in zone 7 to 9. They've got some ground cover tables here, and really nice hellebores, or Lenten rose right there. Lots more hellebores. And of course, these are evergreen, but I do cut the oldest foliage off of these in the late winter. Some of this old foliage will get tattered. These are so young, I wouldn't do it on these, but in the future, I do take this oldest foliage out in about February 1st, and then the new growth comes in the center of the plant, and that's where the flowers emerge that next year. And they really have a big selection of different varieties of hellebores. I'm gonna do that backyard of mine up with a lot of different varieties. Here's a table that has a Carex here, and a Heuchera, and these flirt nandinas, which I've mentioned will tolerate the shade. That coloration that's on the new foliage, you won't get as much of that in the shade, but it's still a really nice textured plant, as you can see right there. And there's an orchid, October Magic Orchid Camellia, which I recently covered on the channel right there. There's some nice Globosa Nana cryptomeria right here on this one. Just grows as a perfect round ball. In the winter, when it really gets cold, it'll start to take on kind of a rusty color. This one right here, it's showing up a little bit in that one again. That Carex showing it off. And another Camellia sasanqua variety right there. One of the best, absolute best low ground cover things for the shade are these dwarf prostrate plum yews here, which I've covered several times on the channel. Super slow growing, but very, very reliable shade ground cover plant. Here's some variegated Pachysandra, which I've always kind of struggled with in the clay soils we have around here, but I saw some recently on one of the tour videos that was around an oak, an established oak, and we're doing quite well. There's some green Pachysandra, and of course some purple foliage of Juga right there. So the last few things I'll show you here are there's some strawberry begonias here. Great choice in for a low growing part shade perennial. And here's a Rhodea japonica, which I showed in the unboxing video from Mr. Maple. There's some nice cast iron plants here, and then there's some Chinese ginger right here, which stays low and spreads. Has a little purplish spring flower on it. It's not all that significant, but the foliage is quite nice on this plant. So there's quite a few more interesting shade, winter interest plants that I found over here at Logan's Trading Company. Keep in mind it's the middle of December, so they're not gonna have their big selection like they would in the spring or summer or fall, but they still have a tremendous amount of nice looking things over here. I'm gonna grab a couple things, and you're gonna see coming up, I've sourced all these plants from these different locations, and you're gonna see them go in the ground in a single video very soon.